This Week in Startups is brought to you by Moo, an online print and design company that helps you stand out and make a lasting first impression. Stand out like an IPO-bound idea at a hackathon with premium business cards from moo.com. And InVision. Find out why so many hot startups are using InVision to prototype, present, and collaborate on design in real time. Sign up for a 90-day free trial at invisionapp.com/twist. Today, Jason looks at the future of investing. Joining him is Sonali de Rijker, partner at Accel, Elizabeth Yin, partner at 500 Startups, and Helena Barnekow, CEO at Telia Sweden.
That's what it's all about, man. They said, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
We have a great panel, Sonali from Accel and Elizabeth from 500 and Helena with Telia. Now, Helena, your Telia is a carrier, but now do you have a formal venture fund, or are you just being speculative and just testing the waters?
Absolutely not speculative. Let me try to phrase how we think about this, because Taylor said this morning, this is not normal, and we're saying we're making this the new normal. And Breakit, I know we have Breakit here in the front somewhere, I ran an article this summer saying that there's been 6 billion funding going into Swedish tech companies year to date, and we actually had 17% of that. So I call that the new normal.
So you're the number? Are you the number one investor then in Stockholm? On a dollar basis?
Long term, I wouldn't imagine we would be the long term base, but we've had an active period because it had kind of met what our strategic goals are. And the way we look at partnerships is very different, of course, from a VC. It's not a VC fund, but we look at it from partnering with companies that we actually first partner with in things we believe in our strategy. And then there is an investment angle to that. So it's actually really part of what we think we need to do.
So when you partner with them, then you get this great inside information. You know if it's going to work or not.
And we kind of call it the smart money. It's not just to give money. It's actually partnering. We give reach. We give our whether it's our stores or online. We give our customer. We work with our customer base. We work with a lot of things, and then the investment is a part of it.
How much, is there a specific size of the fund, or does it just come out of the massive profitability of your company?
No, it's, we haven't earmarked the money, but we obviously have good money to invest, which is why we're doing it.
Do you get paid like a venture capitalist? Do you get 20% of the carry, or do you just get a salary?
We don't, me, you mean?
You personally.
I'm just so happy I get a salary, actually, so I'm good.
So basically you're doing the job of a venture capital without the upside. No upside for you.
So maybe there's somebody who wants to hire me today. Yeah.
Well, you need to go back to your boss.
I have no upside on that, personally.
Your boss is in the audience?
My boss, he was here and he left.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that was a risk from his side, maybe.
Here's the thing, Google has a venture arm. They get $1 billion a year, but they get the 20% carry. I mean, there's an argument that you should get a 20% carry. Don't you agree?
I'll bring that with me. I'll take your card as well. And
well, we need to have you be invested. You have to be vested in this, just like the venture capitalists. What's the biggest investment so far?
Well, our biggest investment so far is Spotify.
How much did you put into Spotify?
We put in a significant, it was 1% of that latest investment round.
Okay.
So
that was $1 billion round.
So that was a good for us, a good round. And again, we've been partnering with Spotify. It's a good discussion. We've been partnering with them for almost 5 years. In terms of bringing Spotify to the consumers through our networks and our business. And now we were doing that investment for actually doing innovation together. So actually driving innovation together, that's the real benefit of that.
So Nali, Accel was an early investor in Spotify. What round did you?
Not early enough.
Not early, you could never be early enough, but you invested in that $500 million to $1 billion round, I understand.
Yeah.
In that range.
Yeah.
So that investment, now the company, I think the last round was 20 billion or 15 billion? Do you know? 10 billion? Only 8.
That's the round Telia led.
So 8 billion. So you're up at least 12x.
On paper.
On paper.
Yeah.
But this is a tremendous business. They have 15 or 20 million paid subs now. How many people are paid in Spotify, do you know? Ballpark?
It's a bit above that, yeah.
Over 20 million.
Yeah.
And HBO has 30 million in the United States. SiriusXM has about 30 million in the United States. So this is a real business, Spotify.
It's a real business and it's a global business.
Yeah.
40 plus countries, and you can imagine dealing with royalty and content owners across all of the categories and countries is not easy.
And we'll be hearing from Daniel later today, actually. He's here, and we're going to do a little fireside chat with him. What was it about that investment that appealed to Accel? And was it clear from the beginning that it would work? Because most investors, let's face it, they don't want to do healthcare. They don't want to do music. It's two of the areas that venture capitalists are most concerned about investing in, because you have incumbents who either fight innovation or, in the case of healthcare, are just tremendously slow in adopting it. Were you concerned? Was it clear?
It's never clear. And it'll never be clear, and nothing's done until it's done. But I think the big bet was, will streaming work? And does the freemium model make sense? Because the owners of the content, they don't like freemium. You watch it all play out, Taylor Swift, everything. They don't want people to have their art for free. And the concept of usage drives more usage, which drives monetization, was completely new. It feels obvious because now streaming has overtaken downloads, and we've seen what's happened with iTunes and Apple. But back in sort of 2010, when we were having the conversations, the big bet was A, streaming, B, freemium. And then, of course, the guys who invented it all were Spotify. So, it was a multi-pronged decision, but in the end, it's always about the team. There's just clarity of vision. And I think this is what we found with a lot of our Nordic investments, is there's such clarity of vision, and it's always about the long term. You're used to this in the Valley, but one of the things we've had to get over in Europe is to build businesses that look good, that's short term, and you're in, you're out. And one characteristic that we've seen from a number of our Nordic investments, and I'm not exactly sure why, it's always about building something for the very long term. And that was clear from the beginning.
And you were also an investor in Clash of Clans, which I think is King is the parent company.
No, Supercell.
I'm sorry, Supercell. King does
but it's
the other
another
one.
Sort of Swedish origin, yeah.
I'm always mixing up the two. But
just another
Supercell
game.
with Clash of Clans, which was an absurdly profitable business, and that Clash of Clans was stuck in the top. I think that was the number one monetization app in the App Store.
Top number one grossing.
Number one grossing
ever. Yeah.
Made over $1 billion in profits, I heard.
You said that, yeah.
Yes, and sold for $5 billion to Masasan, I understand.
You said that.
Not you. So this is your biggest exit in Europe to date?
So we invested when the company was sub 10 people, and there was an idea of a game, but they launched it didn't work out.
A game before Clash of Clans.
Yeah, no one talks about it. So we had to, essentially, it was a bit of a wait, bit of a pivot, try again. But the reason we backed them is it was all about the team and the content. So
they didn't have good performance when you backed them?
No, not at all. It was
Right.
pre-anything.
Pre-anything. What was that, $5-10 million round?
No, you know what? One of the things that we really insisted on, which was back then not obvious, is that we overfunded them. We gave them 8 million euros.
For a third of the company.
They-ish. And
I have all this data, so I can
clearly,
just, or I can guess.
They didn't really need it, but we knew if they were stuck in this trough of nothingness, if something didn't work out, to go back to the market would be a disaster. And then it's a slippery slope, because once you're in the sort of down round, you're not making it, you can't harness the energy.
So properly funding is important.
Especially
and not diluting the founders too much.
I think, you know what, we were prepared to pay up for not much at that point in time. And, you know, luck has a big part of what happens in our business, but it was a very, very credible team. We'd seen a lot of gaming. We've been in every version of gaming, from desktop to social games to educational games, Rovio. So we saw this, and this was the team we wanted to back because they were really all about the quality of content. So it wasn't just a marketing game. Because remember, this was Zynga days.
Yeah, this was $8 million turned into $1.5 billion.
No, less than that. But
like
in that, it's probably one of the largest returns ever in Europe on the venture side. And, you know, the company is still very much growing strong. It's owned by SoftBank.
Masayoshi-san bought it.
Hey, everybody, let me take a moment here to thank Moo for sponsoring This Week in Startups and to let you know I use Moo cards all the time. I am in love with Moo.com. It is the best way to break through the business card clutter that you see out there. They have beautifully crafted and unique business cards that you can make, from their square to their triple Vic Lux to a full line of business stationery. And they use something called Printfinity, which allows you to take different images and put them on different cards so you can have a portfolio in your pocket. The way I do this is I take different pictures from our events with me interviewing people, one with Mark Cuban, one with Chamath, one with Chris Sacca, put those all on the back of the cards. When I give out cards, we're like, oh, what's this image? Oh, you interviewed Mark Cuban? When did you do that? You get the idea. It's really beautiful to be able to put a different image on the back of different cards, and they have quality and tailored collections that are just rich, thick, and beautifully crafted. You can really see and feel the difference. And you can choose from one of their exclusive designs, or you can upload your own. New premium features include the spot gloss finish, the raised spot finishes, and my favorite, the foil finishes. So go ahead and visit Moo.com for more details. I love Moo.com. I've been using them for close to a decade now. It's the only thing you need for your startup or for even a big business. It's super easy to use. It's fun. Go visit Moo.com and you'll just love the product. I'm absolutely sure of that. So thanks again, Moo. Let's get back to this great episode.
Elizabeth, you recently joined 500 Startups. You just joined in April, and you're running the Palo Alto. Is it in Palo Alto, the incubator?
The Mountain View one, but close enough.
Mountain View. Why did you join instead of being, because you were an entrepreneur previously, you just done your first company and sold it. Why did you choose to join an incubator and run an incubator as opposed to maybe do another company?
Yeah, good question. So I had actually started thinking about what my next company would be. And I became sort of an accidental VC in that I started getting sucked in. I was coaching other 500 companies. I started looking at deal flow. They're like, hey, look at this deal. You know, there are all these deals coming in, so why don't you look at these? And I actually thought that it was very interesting. Like, I, on one hand, did not think of any great ideas for my next company, so I'm not ruling that path out. But at the time, I couldn't think of anything. And then on the other hand, like, actually, it was very fascinating because the accelerator in itself is kind of like a company. There are a lot of operational parts, unlike just regular seed investing. You know, I manage a team. I have about 7 reports. And so in that sense, like, it is the business of investing. And so it's a great opportunity to learn.
Sonali, if you could give Elizabeth one piece of advice now that she is a new investor.
Please do.
What would that one piece of advice be?
Shit happens. Don't think it won't happen
Oh, yeah.
So be prepared.
No, yeah.
for anything.
Let me ask you this,
Always.
Sonali. What's the worst behavior, without naming names, of course, behavior you've seen on both sides of the table? Entrepreneurs behaving badly, acting stupidly, VCs acting badly, behaving stupidly. What's the worst you've seen in a decade of investing or so?
Oh, wow. The issue is it's easy to triangulate. But look, I think on the investor side, there's some pretty crappy behavior out there
Give me the worst.
where
Take me to that moment where you just wanted to punch the other person in the face. You're just like, my God, I can't believe you're doing this to the company, or this is how you're behaving.
company needs money desperately. There's a lot of exogenous stuff that's going wrong. The company's actually doing okay, but you need to raise money. And then you have some angel investors. I have nothing against. There's some great angel investors. There's one sitting right on the right side of me, who have been doing it for a very long time, so know where it's at. But they just want to get out at all costs, and it doesn't matter to them what the company wants at all. They don't give a shit. And so you're in the middle of a board meeting. They interrupt the board meeting and saying, no, I now want to talk about selling my shares. You need to help me sell my shares. You need to go to this meeting. And the company is sort of fighting a fire. So, maybe it's humdrum stuff because it's, at the end, what is it? It's an angel investor trying to sell. But it's in the heat of the moment when you're trying to get a company financed, you're trying to do the right
distraction.
thing. Well, it's basically you have a fiduciary duty, and not everybody knows what that fiduciary duty is. That's what I don't understand, is people manage money, in some cases other people's money, and they don't know the basics of fiduciary duty.
You have to take it seriously. It's not a game.
Unfortunately not. I mean, our average hold is 8.5 years. It's between 8 to 9 years.
Yeah.
So that's a long time to be in a company. It is a marriage. You can get divorced more easily.
And the other side of the table, entrepreneurs Recklessness, insanity. What's the worst you've seen?
Well, it's just all about, in some cases, when it's all about the entrepreneur and they start to think they walk on water and they can make no mistakes, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And that does happen because it's the PR, it's the media craziness, and the company can do no wrong, and then suddenly the company does everything wrong, right? So
Never get high on your own supply.
yeah,
Scarface.
I haven't heard. Oh, okay, nice. Never get high on your own supply.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to say that at a board meeting.
It's just the wisdom of Scarface.
Yeah.
Never get high on your
Yeah.
own supply. And what do you think of the strategics like Telia getting involved? Shouldn't they be the buyers of the company? One of the things, Sonali, people say is, hey, why would people buy the cow if they can get the milk for free kind of situation? Like, is letting the strategics in too early a mistake? Or do you think it's a good idea, and how do you manage that? Because a lot of people will say, hey, in this case, Telia is not going to compete with Spotify realistically. But that has been the concern traditionally with strategics is, hey, maybe we don't want to give them this much information until they're going to buy the company.
I think it's a really interesting conversation because these days a lot of strategics are investing in startups. And it's the first time you've really seen the incumbents, a la Apple and Amazon and Google, Facebook, getting in, Alibaba being the big example, really getting into the market and investing in companies. So it's not a conversation that was had much because it was clear. Don't let a strategic into the cap table because it constrains your exit.
Right.
Today, it's something you're faced with a lot more. And there's been a lot of experience at managing these blurry boundaries of what happens if you have an acquisition offer, which is, as you well know, the biggest issue. If you've got a strategic, because what do? Is anyone going to acquire your company because you've got somebody in the cap table who's only going to buy it for the same price? So you can never really get market value. So I think there's a lot more experience around the table on how to handle that situation.
And how do you handle that situation? You have to excuse the partner. So if
recuse
Orange
themselves.
wants to buy Spotify or whatever, Verizon, you have to sell Telia, they have to step out of the board meeting, or they just don't get a board seat to begin with.
I don't know in that particular case. And I think in that particular case, it is a very productive, adjacent commercial partnership that makes a lot of sense. You said that yourself, so I don't want to belabor that. I think it's been an incredible experience for Spotify, and Daniel can talk all about that. But the way you do it is that you really have to recuse them, and you need to make sure that they don't have rights like right of first refusal or even right of first offer. So, which is a long negotiation. But I think what's happened is that these the strategics have figured out either we're in the game or we're not in the game. And to be in the game, there are a couple of rules because the startups dictate, and we got to follow those. That's
in today's market, right? This idea of getting first right of refusal is not even on the table.
No.
And do you ask for that? Do you ask for, Helena, like first right of refusal or information about potential acquisition offers?
Every discussion is different, right? So it depends on each of the discussions. But this is, I would learn from you because this is, of course, for us, we get questions on some of our investments because from an outsider who doesn't understand our strategy and why we're doing it, it's not obvious. And it's not obvious to see how it's actually making sense to us. So I think this is for us, a very strategic discussion. And when we look at these investments, we typically always have had a partnership with the company before because we're doing something that makes sense to the business, for our customers, or for our new customers. So that's why it's not a VC. But the way we get judged as a telco, and I keep coming back to saying this is not normal. So we're trying to create this to be the new normal because where we want to go, this is normal. And we have to, so for all of you out there, we have to, and we are very excited about working with these companies because without working with you, we're not going to make the journey that we're actually doing.
Is your primary motivation return or having the inside track on buying these companies? Which one?
A primary motivation is really the partnership. And in some instances, that partnership gets taken to a level that we don't think we will do without the investment. So it's not the return per se. It's really part of that strategic agenda. And I want to encourage all of you who are here today to go and speak to, behind the banner out there, Purple Plus, we set up a specific team who really drives the edge of our innovation that works with the ecosystems, partnerships, who sits with Ola and the team down at the epicenter to be part of the motion. So it's part of the motion. It's not like it's not the same as the VC fund look at it. It looks at it from that partnering, and then it comes into the investment. So it is different, but I think given the hotbed of Stockholm, it is becoming a significant partner.
Hey, everybody, let me tell you a little bit about InVision app. I use InVision app all the time with my designer, my product manager, my growth team to share mock-ups of our products. We take those mock-ups and we design them and we send them to clients, to partners, to investors. And we say, here is an InVision link. Open this on your iPhone, on your Android phone, and you can click through and see what this product that we're making is like. And when we're building websites, hey, put your comments on there. We have a partner. We have a big SmartCamp thing going on with IBM, SmartCamp 2015. We can use InVision to share that website and say, hey, is there anything you want to change? And then have a threaded discussion. You can take all those discussions off of email, all those discussions out of the chat room. Listen, email and chat rooms have their place, but not in product design. InVision is like Slack, but for product design, right? So you have Slack for a general conversation. You have Gmail for asynchronous communication. You have InVision for product excellence. You cannot make a great product without InVision. I am dead serious about that. Every startup I invest in, I show it to them. They ask them to send me links, and boy, does it work. It supercharges everything you do. I love this product. I love this product. I love this product. Get out of email, get out of chat rooms, and do what Twitter, Airbnb, Evernote, Adobe, and many more are doing. Prototype what you're doing in InVision. It just makes designers and teams and founders so much more efficient. Go to InVisionApp.com/twist for 90 days free. That's their starter plan, free for 90 days, only at InVisionApp.com/twist, InVisionApp.com/twist. And everybody thank InVision App on Twitter. I thank them for making a great product and for supporting independent media like This Week in Startups. Let's get back to this amazing episode. Elizabeth, 500 Startups becoming quite global. You have funds in Asia, the Mobile Fund in Asia, in a bunch of different regions, South America. What are your plans for Stockholm and the Nordic area? I hear you're going to start a fund.
Yeah, so my colleague Sean Percival, and perhaps some of you have met him, he comes here quite a bit, and he's starting a Nordic fund. We don't have any details to share on that right now, but that is our intent. And even just in general, out of our main fund, we do look at companies globally. So, frankly, I'm here to scout great companies and founders.
Why would what's the pitch to entrepreneurs to take 500 startups, 250 or 500,000 is, I think, your normal investment range. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Why would these companies here, when they seem to have a lot of local investors available, why should they take 500 startups money?
Yeah, two big reasons. One, if you have aspirations to raise money from the US, perhaps expand in the US, that's a big reason. We help a lot with downstream investors in the Silicon Valley. So generally speaking, we look at a company, maybe they've raised some money. We're not usually the first check in, but then they want to raise a much larger seed round. And even though we're only putting in like 100K, we can help you fill the rest of that round. So that's number one. And number two, we've really doubled down on growth. We've actually hired a whole team within 500 Startups. These people are on 500 Startups' payroll. And these people are sales folks and marketing folks from fast growth companies. And they are tasked with looking at our portfolio companies and helping them with their growth.
Will you open an incubator here, or will you try to recruit the companies from here to go to your incubators in the United States?
So at the moment, we do the latter. Those companies may or may not decide to stay in the Bay Area. Maybe they'll open an office, but many of them go back to their local markets. But in terms of Sean's Nordic fund that he's starting, I think there will be some incubator-esque, accelerator-esque aspect to it, but details not announced yet.
Got it. How much time do we have left, Tyler? Should we be wrapping up now? Just want to get a time check.
Yeah. We actually have a special announcement.
Can I also just ask a question?
Yeah.
And, I noticed we had 2 speakers come up and present, and then we have 3 here. I have to
All
point
women.
out. Well, I just want to point out, I really think it's unfair that the women are blocking and not hiring any men. When can we expect to see some changes around just the lack of gender diversity here? I mean, it feels like, I'm the only guy on the panel, and I feel outnumbered. There's 5 female investors and 1 male investor.
Now you get to live
I
what
feel like
we
the
live.
token male. You're just putting me up here. Clearly, my returns are my...
Jason, we needed to have a man on the session.
Just because people will
balance it
complain,
out.
right? You just get that complaint every time, which is just like, oh, it's another female-led panel, no guys.
Jason,
just throw Jason up. We'll just, balance it out.
Tick the box.
Let me ask that question, though, in all seriousness. It's a major issue in the United States. Ellen Pao trial, maybe 4 or 5% of female partners. You've been in the business for a while. How has it changed? How big of an issue is it? Is it different here? I
don't think it's changed a lot. And I I don't think it's that big an issue. You know, venture is it's an artisan apprenticeship-based business. It's about a collection of individuals who sit across the table and understand each other and try to do some interesting things. And there's no room for sort of politics and discrimination. I'm speaking maybe from a personal experience because, you know, every venture capital firm, you know this very well, it's its own animal with its own underbelly.
Right.
And, you know, at Excel, it's a small team and it's really about who we are as people as opposed to what sex we are. So
you haven't experienced gender discrimination as such, but does the lack of diversity, you know, that exists statistically trouble you? So you haven't experienced it, but the statistic is still there. How do you reconcile that?
I think it's a real issue on the entrepreneurship side. I mean, to me, that is what's disturbing is why are there not enough female leaders, not even as founders, but in the core kind of top 2 or 3 people who are running these companies. It's very rare to find women. I mean, it's sub 10%, as you know, depending on what the portfolio that you're looking at. And I think that's a real pity because you just can't build the right side of business if you don't have the diversity. So I'm less concerned on the venture side. I think at some point it'll grow, but it's really not a big sector. I mean, venture is not a big market.
Elizabeth, I think as a founder, you're part of this new generation. 500 Startups is known for being, I think, majority female partnership. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think the majority of partners are female. Is that correct?
No, that's not
50-50?
right. 1/3 of the investment partners are female.
Which is the highest ratio then
Which
in the
is
industry.
high.
Yeah.
But I would actually take the opposite view of Sonali from an entrepreneur's perspective. I mean, you know, honestly, I think the gender imbalance creates some instances where there are some bad apples. And not everybody, but there are some bad apples in the ecosystem. Like, for example, one of our founders, female founder, she got pinched in the butt.
Pinched?
Yeah, pinched. Like,
Physically?
Physically pinched at a meeting that she was in with a VC.
A meeting.
Yes, a meeting.
Who was the VC?
This was not a bar.
Who was the
or anything,
VC?
and that would still be inappropriate.
Which VC? You could say
I
this.
actually don't know the name of that
okay.
VC. Yeah, I don't
Got it,
know.
okay.
This happened quite a while ago.
Okay,
So
okay.
before I was on this team. For me personally, I was talking with an unknown angel investor, and when I was pitching my company Launchbit, and at the end of it, I asked him, "So, what do you think?" And he said, "Well, I don't want to say the wrong thing and call you a meek Asian woman, but I question, you know, how you'll lead a team of 100 people." And so,
Wow.
you know, my head just spun. I was like, is he calling me a meek Asian woman? Is he not? Because he said he didn't want to call me that, but he is.
At least he was
It's
thinking
sort of
that.
like the disclaimer, like, we're like, I don't want to be critical, and then you're,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, like, I don't want to insult you, but I'm about to, right?
Exactly. And then there's even, you know, just borderline cases we see all the time. Like 3 days ago, female founder called me up and she was like, yeah, I was talking with this VC and, you know, it just seemed weird. He was telling me over and over how attractive I was a beautiful woman. And I mean, and the guy actually, you know, this guy, he is seriously interested in investing, but it is very unprofessional to mention things like that. You know, a man would not be told
No.
that. So
Yeah.
it's
As handsome as Tyler is, I've always tried to remain, you know, neutral in my admiration for him. I mean,
Very sad.
So anyway.
it's pretty sad. I mean, it does seem, though, I will say, as an angel investor, the amount of female-led companies I'm seeing has increased dramatically. It's at
Yes.
least fivefold than 10 years ago, and I've been in the industry for 20 years. So you do see that. More female founders, but not enough. What do you think the solutions are to inspiring more women to take that lead role, to take that CEO slot? And what do you think the fundamental issues are of why maybe they're not taking it? Do you have some theories? I mean, you took the slot. You know, when you see your counterparts, you know, coming out of school or whatever, what do you think's changed and what needs to change?
Yeah, so I think, to be clear, like before I was around at 500, we looked at a lot, we specifically went out and tried to find the best female founders in the early days. And actually now that's paying off. We don't actively do that, like we don't turn it down, but in our last batch, 40% of the companies we had at least one female founder. And that was not deliberate. Like, we only tallied up the stats at the end after we accepted the companies.
Oh, that was like a delightful discovery afterwards.
Well, so you plant the seeds early,
Right.
and then they refer, their friends who happen to be women, founders, or whatever. So I think it does take initial work to find them. They do exist.
Yeah. Helena, you have thoughts on this topic?
Well, I'm not in the VC business, so I maybe have a slightly different perspective, but I moved to Stockholm last summer. I hadn't lived in Sweden for the last 10 years, and I expected it to have come much further in general. I would have thought to find more diversity in general, etc., and I find it not to be so much. So I'm extremely passionate about this subject, and I think it always starts from how you act yourself. So if you build diverse teams, truly diverse teams, not only do you get the bad stuff away, you get so much more creativity in the team. So that's my. I have extremely high focus on this, and then you have to drive that through the organizations, and because these things change by doing. They don't change by slides.
I think that's incredible insight is if you're doing it and you're doing the work, if you're doing the diversity work, then diversity will happen. And if you're not doing the diversity work, it doesn't happen. I have to say, I just want to make a quick point here that I think Tyler and his team deserve a big round of applause for the efforts they made at diversity, specifically at this event. Can we give them a big round of applause, maybe? I think it matters because here's the thing. If people see change on the stage, it's role models. And, the approach I've taken in my angel investing after had a great mentor in this, Frida Kapoor, Mitch Kapoor's wife, who's worked really tirelessly on diversity. And she said, hey, Jason, you worked really hard to get to the position you're in. What kind of world do you want? Because if you do get to the position like Tyler or myself, where you get to pick who's on stage, or the position we're in, where we get to pick who comes to the incubator or who gets the investment, you get to kind of get to steer the future a little bit, don't you? And so my approach is any female founder or any underrepresented minority, URM is the term, if I'm pitched, I actually take the meeting. And somebody said, well, isn't that unfair that any female founder you'll meet with? And I said, you know what? I think that they've probably gotten the short end of the stick for so long that if I meet with them, at least they can get the value of whatever dialogue or conversation happens. So yes, I'm being unfair to men, but I think the system has been so unfair to certain underrepresented minorities and certain genders that it's the least we can do to kind of be supportive.
There's 50 speakers on stage today, and there's 20 women out of the 50.
I think hitting 40% is truly a big achievement.
Honestly, I was aiming for 50, honestly, and I feel bad.
Not an easy task.
The Nordics is way advanced on this too.
Huh?
Nordics. Way advanced on this entire subject, from politics to government to enterprise.
This isn't a female session, and the last session was more female than men. There is later today the media session, which will be almost all men, so don't kill me on that one, please.
We have to look at the overall number because
I know.
You do have to. A lot of people like to go after the conference organizer.
Yeah.
But the conferences are generally, you have to work really hard, but it's a reflection of the statistics in the industry. So it's kind of hard to beat the statistics in the industry, but you can do it, and you did it, and that deserves.
But no, we both know for launch. It's it's a challenge, but I think everyone has to be responsible. Journalists, co-working spaces, incubators, and props to 500 startups. They obviously have a sense of responsibility on these issues. Historically,
well, I think we all have moms.
Yes.
And I have a daughter and no sisters, unfortunately. But I mean, we want to kind of define the future, right?
That's the crux of it.
We're now really fighting with the food trucks.
Okay, we're done.
So we have a special announcement.
Okay, special announcement.
Believe it or not, Telia today has another new startup announcement.
Oh.
Yeah,
Here we go.
This is. I think we might have a slide on this actually.
Yes, we do have a slide on this.
But this is by the way. Sorry.
I was going to say, this is...
Do you want to announce it for me?
I want to announce it for you. I'm excited about this. This is one of Stockholm's, Sweden's, Europe's hottest new startups, Truecaller, now rumored to be raising at $1 billion valuation and making it Stockholm's 7th unicorn, so to speak. And...
I just signed up for this. It's a great product.
This has been the fastest growing thing anywhere, maybe on Earth,
It's extremely, and we signed the LOI right as we walked into the city hall yesterday, so it's right on time. But it really is one of those. We know the customers are crazy about this. Basically, we know that, and we know this is a very, very cool innovation, and doesn't work today on the iOS. And Sweden and Norway and Denmark are the most iOS crazy countries, I think, on the planet, actually. So we know it's all out there. So we are starting our partnership today, and going to do work together, basically.
Truecaller has been coming to the monthly events nearly every month, and I've gotten to know these guys very well. I really love Nami, and he knows I love Truecaller, always have. And from the beginning, I've been kicking myself because I was there right the day they got the Sequoia deal done, and he had this look on his face, and he couldn't tell me what it was. I was like, something's going on. And ever since then, it's just been a rocket.
Yeah.
And congrats on this partnership. What is it? How has it been working with Telia on this?
So shortly.
This is unscripted as usual, by the way.
Into the microphone.
Yeah.
Speak into the microphone.
Yeah. So this was something which actually I think it was a collaboration that happened naturally. We started talking about different things we could do together, and we naturally started focusing on what Helena said is one of the biggest issues or problems that iOS users would like to solve. So we started to focus on it, and we found out that there are solutions, and we're working together to bring that solution to the market ASAP. We're very proud of having this partnership. Telia is known for partnering with companies that does improvements in the user experience for their customers. And so we're very proud of having this partnership, as we believe that about 50-60% of the Swedish market is actually iOS users, and this will definitely improve the phone experience overall. So we're very proud of it.
Awesome. All right, let's hear it for Telia.
Congrats.
And two quick more brief announcements. Daniel, there's a lot of food trucks outside. 15 food trucks. Everyone's got to run out there and get their lunch. However, if you want to skip the line...
These are the top 15 food trucks in Stockholm.
They are.
And there's 15 in Stockholm.
No, there's about 20. But,
so we got top 75%.
But Daniel's app, Waitress, you can order through Waitress. If you download Waitress, you can order the food trucks right from your seat. So you don't have to... The lines are very, very long. But you can skip that, yes?
Yeah, thank you, Tyler.
Yep.
That's all.
That's it. Okay, skip the line for you. One other thing, you can get a 70 crown lunch voucher at the IBM booth. They'll tell you how to do it. You just sign up for Blue Mix or their startup program, and you'll get these 70 crown vouchers, and then you can go to the food trucks and use them there.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, so once again...
I have to also thank Coke. Coke is giving away free Coke at all the food trucks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. All right, so let's hear it one more time for Sonali, Elizabeth, and Helena. What a great panel.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
And what's the name of our drummer? I didn't catch your name.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Reed.
I'm here tweeting all this great stuff going on.
Yeah. Where in Brooklyn? Mr. Reed. ENT. Where in Brooklyn are you from?
I'm from East New York. I love my community, and I do a lot of work in business communications as well.
I love it. Awesome. East New York. I'm from Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
Look at that.
There you go. You went to John Dewey. I went to Severian High School.
So about Bay Ridge, Fort Hamilton.
Right, Fort Hamilton. Which
let the man do his thing. Can you play us out to lunch,
play us
Mr.
out
Reed?
with the little Public Enemy, whatever you got. You got some Biggie. What do you got? Let's do it.
Thank you.